Hey guys, my name is Justin and welcome to Hellsboro, where we care about the design behind designer luxury. And if you do too, make sure to subscribe. For today's video, I wanted to talk about some things like, you know, it's starting to get warm in most places in the world. Not here. Pretty sure I already made that joke, but it's because it's still relevant. It's May, and it's still freaking cold. Anyways, weather's warming up in most places. You know what that means. It is time for hot girl summer. Good, because when you do that, it makes it warm. I was inspired to like look around for some bags that like would be perfect for if you're going to the beach or like, you know, a fun like summer party, or if it's just like hot in general, like what would be like a good look for a bag. I think I did good. I think these work. And as we go through the list, you'll see like the vibe is different. So like, focus. If you are a hot girl, it doesn't matter what type of hot girl you are, you will find something on this list that you will like. Maybe. Also, girl in this sense is non-gendered, so just putting that out there. So the first bag I wanted to talk about is from a personal favorite brand of mine, and I would absolutely be remiss if I didn't bring up this brand because they do summer bags so well. They do summer in general so well. So the bag I want to talk about is called the Font Tote. Actually in my Let's See for the Loewe Polisabisa, I'll link it up in the corner. You can see I talk about a different, like all the different bags that they have in that video. So this one is the size large, which I think big bags for summer, not only like on trend, but just in general when you're out for summer, it's nicer to have a big bag, I guess. You can bring it to the beach, you can bring all your stuff in there, or I don't know, bring a change of clothes because you get sweaty and you sweat through all your clothes, you know? There's not a problem I face, I don't sweat, but you know, there's some people who do, so you know, this is for you. Like if you're sweaty, I don't know. I think I even mentioned this in the Let's See, but what I love about this bag is that it's this natural Raffia color, that very like sandy, creamy, light beigey, natural fibery color. I don't know, whatever. All the edges are done up in black, so then it adds this really interesting contrast of like natural versus this like harsh black, and it creates this kind of like depth where it almost feels a little cartoony in a way, in like a really good way. Like it's totally okay to be like goofy and still be like hot, but actually I think goofy and hot go hand in hand really well. But this bag is not necessarily that. It does feel like lighthearted, kind of free, and then with like the black outlines, it almost feels like the bag is like illustrated in a way, so it's like kind of unserious in like the best way possible. So the next bag I want to talk about is called the Le Marais Bag. I know I just added a the onto le, which is like the for French, but it's a bag by Alaïa. Again, we're seeing another natural fiber bag, and it's a big like baskety kind of tote. But the way that they did the leather on this, I think is so interesting. It's wrapped up in like these leather straps, but then there's these like metal rings that connect it when like the leather kind of like intersects with itself. And then it attaches also to the handle using these rings, and it just gives me that really like bondage feel. So it's kind of sexy, kind of like daring, kind of like, oh, what is going on here? But at the same time, it also feels very goofy because you get the contrast of this like very like sexy leather on this like natural fiber that's supposed to be like very like laid back, relaxed, and like super chill. So like the idea of like this constriction idea of BDSM with like, oh yeah, I'm going to the beach with my like riding crop to smack some guy's butt or whatever, I don't know. You can do whatever you want, like as long as you're not hurting other people. Anyways, I can totally imagine like a really hot goth gamer girl with her like big black hat, and she has like a black bikini on, but then she still has her like huge demonia shoes. I'll put a picture up if you don't know what that means. But then she's carrying this because she's like, yeah, no matter where I go, I'm gonna be edgy and cool and hot. So perfect bag for, you know, if you're goth, or into BDSM, you know, or both, or if you're not into either, but you just like it, you know. All right, so now we're going to do a 180 and we're gonna go from a bag that's like kind of chill, kind of unserious, to a bag by Jacquemus, which I know you're like, how? That brand is so like lighthearted, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You'll see what I mean in a second. So the bag I want to talk about is called Le Bambino Long Osier. I'm sorry, all French people. I'm not gonna apologize to France. I'm just kidding. I like France. I was actually there recently. Also, I stand with workers' rights, so I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Oh yeah, this bag. By now, I'm sure you've seen it. I don't know how long ago it's been up. It's probably been there for a while, and you're like, okay, let's get the show on the road, whatever. Anyways, the funny thing is, these bags actually look quite similar. Like you have like the natural material plus leather, natural material plus leather. But for me, the Bambino, when it's done up in this wicker, because wicker is such a structural material, chairs are made out of it, furniture in general, like storage things are made out of it. Like it is like sturdy, which makes sense for Jacquemus because a lot of his bags do need or want that kind of structure to it to really like emphasize the shape, and this is no exception. So when you have this bag, it feels almost like uptight in a way when it's done with this natural material. There still is kind of like a lightness to it because it's a natural material, but the fact that there's so much structure coming from a natural material almost makes it feel more structured than if it was all leather. It almost makes it feel like rigid, right? I think it's beautiful. I do think that you have to be kind of careful when styling it because you need to dress like hot to wear it, because if you dress true prim, then it's gonna look like Victorian boy who's like dying from like, I don't know, the pox, or what did they have back then? A cold? I don't know. The mines? Whatever. I do love this bag, and it actually reminds me of like, have you guys seen like the pictures of those like half wicker Birkins or Kellys or whatever? That's like, oh, this bag is $45,000 or whatever, and I'm like, okay, it's kind of ugly. Something about this, the fact that it is like less pretentious in that way, does make it a bit more like attractive to me. And I definitely think this is worth like a look because it is cute. Like, look at it. Let's take a break from like these like all these bags with like these natural materials and natural fibers and all that stuff. Like, who cares about nature? I want to see something that's been processed, like comes from a factory or whatever. Like, let's do this. I want chemicals. I mean, I'm sure there's chemicals in other parts of processing natural fibers. Anyways, the next bag I wanted to talk about is from Bottega Veneta, and it is called the Medium Fisherman Crossbody Bag. You can see this bag is all leather. It doesn't have any of the kind of like intrecciato kind of like signature Bottega Veneta interwoven leather kind of details to it. So it does look a little bit like maybe what most people are used to from Bottega Veneta at this point. But I do think that this bag does feel very like current with the way that a lot of the new accessories have been going. There's a lot of fluidity. Like if you look at the sardine bag, the Calimero, the foulard, I think there's one called like the Pietro bucket bag that has a lot of like rounded quality to them, right? The shape I think is so beautiful, and then I wanted to talk about specifically this brown color because the way that it's shaped, it almost reads as if it's a basket, just because the way that the lines follow along and the way that the edges of the leather like curve along. It looks like it almost is like made to, I mean, it is made to like sit against your body. I know what you're thinking, like, Justin, why are you showing us this bag when like all the other ones had like natural fibers and they're all like super like summery feeling? Well, for me, this bag does feel crazy summery. Like I said, the shape of it is reminiscent of a basket, but the fact that it's crossbody, it's kind of like meant to be like on the go, the color of it, and just the way that it opens, and there's a certain simplicity to it. The lining is suede, so it almost reads almost like entirely purposefully like it is just like kind of one piece of leather in a way that's just wrapped up to make something. There's a certain casualness to it despite the structure that it has. It just feels like a bag that's made of contrast, right? Like you have structure, but you have this fluidity. You have lines, but they're all curved. I think there's like something very beautiful about this bag that I don't fully understand yet, because it has all of this contrast built in. I think that's helpful in creating a bit of versatility. You can wear something like really like beachy, long, flowy, but then you can also wear something that's a little bit more like put together with this, you know, within the right like colorway. Day to night, night to day, whichever direction you want to go, I think that's very much like a hot girl trait, and this bag is perfect for that person. Alright, so let's start taking a step back into like natural fiber bags. This one's kind of a natural fiber, I guess, but it's not, I think, for me, what I think of when I think of a natural fiber bag. But this bag is from Isabel Marant. It's called the Bayia bucket shoulder bag. Bayia bucket shoulder bag. Here's the thing, the product description, I think it only talks about like the like cream looking part of the bag. It's saying it's a blend of cotton, polyester, and other fibers, which like, I don't know what that means. It looks like there's leather on there. I can't confirm if it's like a synthetic leather or like cow leather. Your guess is as good as mine, because that leather would not be 10%. Also, you don't talk about leather as a fiber. So anyways, it kind of reads like athletic in a way, but not in like a modern athletic way, if that makes sense. It reminds me of like a tennis net or basketball hoop. And then the shape of it being a bucket bag, it has that roundedness. It really, for me, enforces that kind of like basketball hoop kind of shape. So it has this kind of sportiness, but because you're mixing that like cream with this like brown, like warm leather, you get this kind of like more relaxed feeling from it. I think this bag would actually be perfect for someone who like dresses a little bit more sporty, but they want something that's a little bit more like relaxed or maybe like less modern. It almost feels like classic, but with like a modern twist. And I don't know. I know that's like a thing people say, but I feel stupid saying it about this, so I don't know. Honestly, it would be like really fun if you're like going to a basketball game. You'd have like a jersey on and you have this bag. I think it would be so cute. But I also like the way that they styled it on the model's wearing like a floral dress. I think it totally works with that as well, because it has that kind of like almost vintagey feel. I don't know, for me, I also think like bucket bags are really good for summer as well. It's kind of like a cousin to a basket, and the fact that this is also done with like the mix of cream and the warm brown of the leather, and then it has this kind of like antique-y looking gold / brass kind of hardware. I think it's great. Alright, so the last bag I want to talk about is from Proenza Schouler, and it's called the Raffia Large Ruched Tote. I'm sure you guys are familiar, but if you're not, Proenza Schouler was really big in like the late aughts to the like early 10s. Think of like a similar time frame when like Kenzo, Alexander Wang, towards the end of Marc Jacobs, like the brand during like the first run. That's kind of like where I would place Proenza Schouler. It's very like indie sleaze, very like, you know, like hipster. But then what I love about this bag is it still feels very Proenza Schouler. This kind of like, I don't know how to exactly say it, but like it feels beachy but not too beachy. Like you could wear this bag in the city to get that feel of summer but not feel kind of like dumb. I feel like sometimes if you wear a bag that's too beachy in an urban setting, it's kind of like, oh, are you lost? Like, what are you doing here? But this bag does not have that energy at all. It still has the natural fiber, and it has a beautiful mix of this like dark, like rope, it's not rope, but like, what is it, like tube of leather to make the handles. And then the ruching adds that bit of softness that I think when you add extra texture to something that's already textural, it makes it even softer. It gives a little bit more detail, more focus, and I think it's such a smart way to treat that material. I could totally see someone like carrying this in New York and it being like not weird, unlike some of the other basket bags or even some of the bags on this list I think could be a little weird and too urban of a setting. And because this like bag has that like city feel, for me almost it feels kind of like specifically like New York. Automatically, if you're a girl living in New York, if you're a New York girly, you're already a hot girl. So that's kind of like the vibe going with that one. I hope that makes sense. Alright, so those are the bags that I am recommending so you can live the hot girl summer of your dreams. Hopefully one of these bags works for you. Let me know if you like any of these bags or if you think all of my recommendations are silly and goofy and not sexy and hot. Just let me know. I love hearing from you guys. But that is all I have for you today. So if you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. It lets me know that you like this kind of content and that you too care about the design behind designer luxury. Until next time, oh my god, it's feeling so hot. You're gonna have to pay extra for that. I know it's free, unless you're doing YouTube Red, which, okay, I don't know what that means anyways. Do you get YouTube Red when you monetize on YouTube?